Okay, welcome back to Como Live. My name's John Powell. I am the consultant and specialist for the Charlotte Partridge Ordway Memorial Japanese Garden here at Como Park Zoo and Conservatory. And today I'm going to speak to you briefly about the tea house and garden that's located here. While we probably wouldn't consider this an actual tea house, it is a house with a tea room in it. But something that's quite exceptional about this building is that it offers a piece of sort of the Minnesota North Woods and the aesthetic of both Japanese tea houses and Japanese what's called skiya architecture. So in actuality, this would be a little bit closer to something we would call a minka, like a farmhouse. But at the same time, it still has tea rooms within it that allow for us to go in and enjoy a bowl of tea. Often, and probably too often, it's the art and the sort of the practice of drinking tea is called the Japanese tea ceremony. It's probably not the best translation. If we really look at the word itself, it means hot water for tea. Or another word called chado, which means the way of tea. But really, the ceremony almost puts this kind of, sort of tilt on it that makes it inaccessible, but it's really a wonderful practice for people of all ages and all cultures. And really in the origin of this way of tea, that was the idea, was this sort of opportunity for people to be together of the same sort of status, whether they were rich or poor, and come and enjoy this tea. And along the way, the aesthetic of the Japanese tea garden was created. As far as Japanese gardens go, the tea garden is probably the only one that has an actual function. All of the others are purely for pleasure, whether it's a hill and pond or stroll type garden or a dry landscape garden where you might just be viewing and enjoying it. But with the Japanese tea garden, it is created specifically to prepare the guest for entering the tea room. So we purposely started outside here so that we could kind of show you the process and the way a tea ceremony might go. So it really begins on the outside with the gate. As far as kind of the philosophy of the tea garden, it's sort of built in layers that signal to the guests that they should be leaving this outside world behind and just sort of opening themselves to what might happen with this bowl of tea. While it tastes similar every time, there's a different taste to the tea depending upon the time of the year or where the tea came from. And there's a saying in Japanese, ichigo ichie, where this encounter will never be repeated again. So the tea gathering, the tea meeting is an excellent example of that. So as architecture of the garden goes, and oftentimes the building itself, the deeper we get into the tea garden, the more informal the materials become. So at the exterior, we may see a very handsome gate like this and perhaps a very handsome fence to go along with it that may feature lumber that's milled or square in dimension. But as we go deeper to the inside, we use more and more rustic materials, natural round wooden posts, sometimes just natural trees with the bark peeled off to hold up our fence or even the structure itself. So we're going to go a little bit closer right now. So when a guest comes for tea, they basically meet at a preordained spot, and a guest usually brings a fresh pair of white socks so that they can, be respectful to their host and have a, nice, clean presentation as well as a clean heart and mind when they come to the tea room itself. So this is, while it's a garden area, it's really just the front of the house here. And we don't particularly have a name for it except maybe front garden. If I were inviting you for tea, I would probably have you come to the front door where you would come in, take a seat, remove your shoes, put your white socks on, and be given a special pair of sandals that are used to walk in the garden with. So in order for me to tell you what to do, there are some cues along the way that we use within the garden. And one here is the stone that has the black rope tied around it. That is called Sekimori-ishi, but really what it is a method of directing traffic. It's the tea host's way of signaling to the guest that he or she does not want you to go that direction. So I would know, if I were the guest now, to go directly to the front entrance where I would then prepare myself to go and enter the rest of the garden. So we see this often in Japanese gardens, not just tea gardens, but that stone to signify or to ask the guest not to go in that direction. So rather than going in through this entryway called the Genkan, we're just going to step to the side and come to the side gate here. The Japanese tea garden is often called a roji, and roji means dewy path, and it was one of the original names for gardens like this, and we still use it today. For this house and garden, we consider this area we're about to enter the soto roji, which means the outer roji, which is followed by the inner roji on the other side. Now, had you come in through the front door, you would have probably been led to this room right here, which has 3 tatami mats, which are kind of a woven mat made out of rush that are typically in Japanese houses. And you would have been asked to wait there until the tea host or master was ready for you to come a little bit farther along the way. Likely, the way he would have done that would have been to left the gate slightly ajar, or come to the gate, or made a sound at the basin, which we'll see in a second, that would give you a clue to move a little bit farther. So one by one, the guests would come down stepping stone path and pass through into what's called the nakaroji, the inner roji. And then the guests would know to come over to an area called the koshikake machiai, or the waiting place. The Japanese tea garden is pretty fantastic as in the history of the Japanese garden aesthetic, because it is the first time that stepping stones were used in Japanese gardens. And now we see them in almost every Japanese garden. It was the first time that stone lanterns were used in Japanese gardens. Previously, they had been used just for temples and for burial grounds. It's also the first time that we saw the Chozobachi, the water basin, introduced into the garden. And many other things that now are almost a part of every Japanese garden within Japan, but also around the world. So as a guest, you would be asked to come to this bench here and wait. Usually when you're invited to a tea gathering, someone is designated as the first guest or the most special guest. So there's actually an order that is created by the gardeners as we build the garden that designates to the guest where to sit. If I am the first guest, I would know to go to that stone right there. And then the second guest, third guest, and the fourth guest would sit on farther down the bench. And while the stepping stones look to be in some random fashion, they're actually designed to make it a smooth transition for all of those guests to get to the bench and then to come back to the basin over here. So after waiting here, the host may make another signal by slightly opening the exterior door to the tea room that would tell that first guest to come and walk to here, the Chozobachi. The Chozobachi is really just the stone basin. The entirety of the arrangement we call the sukubai, or crouching place. And in a nutshell, it's just a spot of ritual purification to further help you strip away the cares and worries of the outside world and prepare yourself for entering. So one at a time, first guest first, comes here, rinses the right hand, rinses the left hand. There's usually a ladle there. And then sort of ceremonially kind of rinses the mouth or touches the water to the mouth, then washes the ladle with the remaining water and replaces it. Then that guest would make his way along the stepping stone path and step through this crawl-through door, which was created as another expression of humility for whoever came to the tea ceremony, that regardless of their status, they all had to crouch down and crawl through this door. So for me, as a gardener, the tea garden's always a really special place. It's an opportunity for for the gardener to somewhat affect the way the tea ceremony is. It's a rare opportunity to be able to come to a tea gathering and actually have a functioning tea garden with it. So in that respect, this is one of the really great spots of the campus here at Como Park. One of the originators of this idea, the way of tea, back in the late 1500s, expressed at least the garden part this way: is that you should strive to create a mountain of life in the city. And I think if you'll come out and visit with us, you'll see that we've done just that.